Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Munciana Courtside, Season 7, Show 12. Just finished up a big-time session in Munciana. People still coming and going through the doors. That's not going to slow us down. Got to talk state. This is what we were hoping. And I tell you, I got to be honest. I wouldn't have said it, but I wasn't sure we'd be doing this show about this subject at this time of year. I'm jacked out of my mind.
Oh, yeah.
Get us going, Rando.
Last past week highlights, semi-states. We'll talk about 1A real quick. Pioneer takes down defending state champs in 3, and Lagodi takes down Hauser in 3.
Well, Pioneer, we talked about early on that their competitive nature and their athleticism were going to be tough to deal with for Cowan. And, Cowan got as much out of Conway as he could, but not enough from the rest of the supporting cast. And Pioneer probably just a better team at this stage of the year. The team that's playing best, not necessarily always the better team. We talked about this with HSE. The team that's playing best on each given day, it's survive and advance, and whoever's playing best on that given day moves on. Pioneer takes down a good Cowan team, and kudos to Cowan. I mean, 2 really, really back-to-back great years, and now you get to see your wife more. So it's
2A state final. Other than the 2A.
They move up to 2A next year.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, you get to see your wife more. Let's dwell on what's important. Lagodi.
Yeah.
Lagodi's good. Doing the TV work for the IHSAA. One of the really neat things about Lagodi is they got a little DS named Grace Lingenfelter. So I'm kind of becoming a Lagodi fan. I got to be honest.
Whole form at that point.
Hauser, I love, just like Cowan, a great year. Nothing to be ashamed of. Lagodi, you said early on, was one of the hottest teams in the state of Indiana. Lagodi marches in with Pioneer. Good 1A final. Neither team has ever won a state title.
Correct.
I love that stuff.
Correct.
I love that. That's good.
Then we got we're going to talk about 2A. We're going to talk about Wapahani. Fights back.
Yeah.
Down 2-0. And they fight back and beat Fairfield in 5. Winners win.
That's what the Raiders do. I keep talking. This Raiders team is solid ball handling, very well set. Just lacks in the firepower department, and they're going small ball. They're just going to try to keep the ball in play and let you air out because they're not bombing balls. I mean, Cam Wise is good, Cook is good, but they're really limited. They don't have Macy Bowden doesn't have a ton of options, but she's spinning the wheel right and she's setting good balls and putting people in positions to either terminate or put the other team in harm's way in a tough situation and get a lot of free balls back.
Yeah.
But, Wapahani, we talked about it, and I said the thing that Wapahani has going for them, they know what they're losing.
Yeah.
And I said this, and I don't know if people realize it. Since 2012, this is the most decorated team in the state of Indiana. State championship, then they will take it 2 years off, go state championship. They take no time off and go state championship finals. And then they're back in the finals again.
Yeah.
No team has had, 4 state championships and 3 runs like these guys have. Yeah. And they know how to win. And when you're down 2-0, that's the type of team I want on my side. And so great win. Fairfield, tremendous team.
Yeah.
Tremendous team. And great athletes and a tough finish to the season, but they'll be back next year.
Just like you're talking about too, Wapahani will go up next year in the class system as well.
Wapahani says 3A, but they got to they got to finish 2A. They got to more dance.
Correct. Then we'll talk about the other half of 2A in the South. Bar Reef takes down defending state champions Heritage Christian.
I was shocked. I think you called this.
That was my shock. That was my upset pick. So I hadn't seen Bar Reef. It was just a wild guess. I'll be honest.
Well, I tell you what, that's a crazy guess because HSE, man, Heritage Christian. I said from day one, Heritage Christian Wapahani.
Yeah. After
Mallory Summers gets taken out of the lineup, I'm thinking, well, maybe Wap won't be there, but I'm 100% sure Heritage Christian. Wes Snyder, who's a really good man, his daughter's one of the real gifted setters in 2A. For Heritage Christian, said on that day the best team won. They played better than Heritage Christian. Heritage Christian probably still the best team in 2A.
Yeah.
But on that given Saturday at that given time, It just didn't happen. And sometimes you just pick a bad time to not be great or a bad time to play average. I think that happened to Heritage Christian, but also a bad team to play average against because Bar Reef is really good. Bar Reef, huge record, and beat some really good teams. Had a fairly tough schedule along the way, and so Bar Reef Wapahani is going to be a war, and we'll talk about it. But congrats to Bar Reef and Heritage Christian. Nothing to hang your heads on either, because that team is coming off of a state title. That group of kids that's graduating are probably the most significant or the most celebrated seniors ever in Heritage Christian history. Congrats.
Yep. Talk about 3A North. We had talked about Ken, Hauser, and Dwenger get to the state finals. Welcome. They take down New Prairie in 4.
Yeah, Tim Hauser is a very good coach, and he's now very seasoned because he went through the gauntlet. One of the things you got to understand, I talked a little about to the athletes in the gym tonight. You can't be confident or successful until you fail. You've got to fail so that you can have a conquest. Once you've had conquest, now you become confident and successful. But until you failed, you cannot have a conquest. And Dwenger went through, a string of about 3 years in a row. They had the untimely loss to Angola last year, but back-to-back years, they were the best match for the back-to-back state champions, Newcastle.
Correct.
And had them beat a couple of times. This Dwenger is battle-tested, and they have a star. And I think stars are important this time of year. They have a star in Eva Hudson. Yeah. And so Dwenger goes through. New Prairie, great season. Congrats, Dwenger and Tim Hauser. Welcome to the show. Now it gets interesting, and good luck to your team.
Yeah. South 3A, we talked about Silver Creek making their magic run, trying to still get to that state championship just to probably get us in their cafe. But
I will tell you,
Buff wins in 4.
I look forward to the day I get to be in the cafe with those guys because Zimmerman is a very good coach. Silver Creek is a very good team. Brebeuf, what the thing about Brebeuf? Brebeuf has more losses than any team in this tournament. They have as many losses almost as all of the teams
correct
in 1A, 2A championships. The two champions in 4A are going to be 2 losses, 4 losses.
8 losses.
Yeah.
1 and 2A, they have 8 losses.
8 losses. 1A has 8 total losses between them. 2A has 8 total losses between them. 4A has 2 total losses between them. Brebeuf has 11 losses. Mm-hmm. But if you go back and look, I said this with the Wapahani team that we won with in 2002 state championship. We went in with the 6 or 7 losses maybe. But they were to Burris, Delta, Central, the best teams in the state. Brebeuf has had a very tough schedule. You look at that schedule. They played against most of these teams playing on Saturday. They're going to be in Worthen. Yeah. So these guys
went 4 with Yorktown, went 4 or 5 with Wapahani.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of them.
Yeah, they played some teams. And so Brebeuf, congratulations, man. Silver Creek, you lost to a bona fide team. That team has played as tough a schedule as anybody. And Silver Creek taking them 4, could have gone 5. Great accomplishment, great season, Silver Creek. And Brebeuf, here we go.
Talk about 4A North. I was exiting the Cowan semi-state, and this older gentleman looks at me and yells, "Hey, where are you from?" I said, "Cowan." He goes, "Did you guys win?" I said, "No, we didn't win." He goes, "We're from Munster." I said, "Oh." He goes, "What about this McCutcheon team?" I said, "The real deal. You better be ready." Thinking McCutcheon was going to win it. No. The old man was right. He said, "We got a bunch of 6-footers. We're taking them down." Sweeps them in 3.
Well, in Munster, we've talked about the North the whole time. It doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Munster.
They called us out. They called us out the show for not picking them. So hats off. Congrats.
Munster is. We've talked about it. They got multiple D1 kids on that roster. The kids are already committed.
Yeah.
They're big and physical. John Shondell, assistant coach at Purdue, his daughter plays for McCutcheon, had referenced early on that McCutcheon was slowing Chicoine at the net earlier in the season. And it was with immense size, big middle, big, strong right sides. And so they're a physical squad. And, they were capable of slowing down who a lot of people think, and I may be right there, Chloe Chicoine, one of the most dominant, most impactful players in the state of Indiana, maybe in the country. And so Munster, great win. And Munster's had a phenomenal season, 33-2. And they've gone through, when you go through a Crown Point as many times and LaPorte as many times, and some of the people they've gone through, they've earned it. And so that's a great win for them. That McCutcheon team was the hottest team in the state at the end of the season. And for Munster to step in, and whoever the older gentleman was that called it, maybe we should have him on the show. That's a huge win. Congrats to Munster. I'm excited to see you in Worthing. And, to be really honest, I think I'll see McCutcheon possibly in Worthing next year.
Yeah.
They've got a shot. They got to go through HSE and a couple of other people. But that McCutcheon team's going to be really good.
Funny thing you said that we should have brought him on the show. My wife's dad literally looked at me and I told him they got swept. He said, "Wow, seems like you don't know what you're talking about. We should have had that guy on the show."
We never said we knew what we were talking about.
All right, going to talk about 4A South, Yorktown. I don't really consider that South, but we'll keep talking about that. Maybe South from this building, but
Yorktown?
Yeah.
Oh,
they survived 5. They take
one thing that I did say, and I said this early in the season when everybody was, throwing dirt on them. I will always bow down to or give credit to Providence. Providence is a legacy program, one of a handful in this state that you've always got to be respectful of. Parika is a great coach, not a good coach. Horning is a great player, not a good player. And so you got history, you got maybe the best fan base, you got a great coach, you got a great star. They're not going to be an easy out.
No.
And they gave Yorktown, who has very much the same qualities that we just talked about. You give Yorktown a run and it goes 5 and everybody in the state is shocked, except for me. I said early on, Providence is frightening. They're one of the scariest teams in the tournament, and you didn't want to play them come tournament time. They may have given Yorktown the wake-up call they really needed because they got pushed.
Yep.
They got blitzed in set 1. Now, Yorktown, from everything I'm hearing, didn't come out on top of their game in set 1. But Providence gave them fits and had their chances to win this. Yorktown came out and jumped them in set 5. But I will tell you right now, Providence, nothing to look down about. That team, Horning, I really wish you'd have been healthy all year long because I think we'd have been talking all year long about them. Parika, there will be more. There's going to be more. Every year there's another one. They just keep coming. But the one thing that's consistent is Parika always makes their teams better at the end of the year. Their fans, I will never back off. My first glimpse of their fans was coaching against them. Right before this amazing run started, I had a shot. I had to play them in a state championship in, I think, 2012 maybe. And their fan base was the most amazing group of people. And you know what? Unlike everything else in our world where you have to love somebody and hate somebody, these cats just loved everybody. Mm-hmm. They loved their kids, but they were really good fans, best fans in the state. And then, ultimately maybe one of the great legacies. So Providence, we'll see you again next year. You'll be in the hunt. Yorktown, you get to go to Worthing and get back there after a 1-year hiatus, and we'll talk about Yorktown in a bit.
Yep, we're going to talk about games of the week. And we're going to talk about all the state games.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about 1A. We'll be seeing number 3, Pioneer, 29-3 on the year versus number 2, Lagodi, which is 31-5. It will be a 10:30 start on the dot. All these games that you're going to hear, that's when the game will start. Everybody will pile in, all 1,500 fans. They'll all exit. You have to buy individual tickets.
Yeah, if you don't know, you got to buy all individual tickets, individual sessions. They're $12 a piece. They're all online. There's no hand-to-hand contact with the tickets. Everybody will exit the arena after each individual game, and they'll prepare the arena for the next. So it's going to be a long day, a really long day. It starts off at 10:30, as you talked about, with a matchup which, I love energy. I love excitement. That's exciting to me that Pioneer and Lagodi, neither one have ever won a state championship. Lagodi, as historical as anybody, they've always been a great power in the South. And I made great friends with some folks from Lagodi way back when I was coaching a Hoosier Region high performance team, and they had a couple of little girls that were in that team, and one beautiful girl that went on to play at IU, and that Lagodi staff and the Lagodi team is as good as there is, and maybe due for a state championship.
Correct.
Pioneer, Rod Nyes has done this for a long, long time. One of the great competitors, one of the great gentlemen in the game. He's due a state championship. So something's got to give. But I love the energy of two schools that have never won it being in a position to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And, I like these teams. Lagodi, very balanced. They got to have a real balanced attack and come out and get after it. And if they can stay balanced, they'll be able to take care of a couple of rotations that Pioneer is a little weaker in. Lagodi is going to really have to deal with Pioneer's aggressiveness and competitive nature, which comes directly from their coach. That's going to be as good a matchup as any in the day.
Yep. And then one other thing to add, if for some reason, which I'm guessing they're going to end up being sold out, the matches, you can watch it on TV. It is on TV. Make sure you find out. It's all online. You can find it all over the social medias.
Yeah, I said to somebody today, usually I can get by with a lot of mistakes. I do the TV for 3A, 4A. And I can get by with a lot of mistakes because there's only about 7 people watching. Now everybody's watching, and I got to be sharp. But it is on TV, and as I always urge people to go watch it on TV. Make these ratings huge. Help these schools out and help the sport of girls volleyball out by watching the game. But great matchup. Who do you have?
I will talk about that.
Right? You're gonna hold. All right.
2A state final, number 3, Wapahani, now 28-5 on the year, going to play number 1, Bar Reeve, 34-3. It will be a 1:30 start.
Well, Bar Reeve, maybe, as you alluded to last week when you were heading into their matchup with Heritage Christian, you said the hottest team in the state. You made the comment that they were on fire, and they proved you right. That team, you've got the hottest team possibly in the state against one of the most seasoned programs. Now, I didn't say teams, programs in the state, because this Wapahani team is still very young. This Bar Reeve team is very old. One of the factors that comes into play at the end of the year is when careers are about to end, kids that are seniors, they brawl a little longer, they fight a little more. And this senior group has been, they've had to deal with COVID in their senior year. These guys are going to fight like crazy to hold on to their senior season. WAP is fighting like crazy to hold on to a legacy their new coaching staff has just continued doing. They haven't missed a beat. That coaching staff's been there 2 years, been in the state finals 2 years. This is going to be, a program history versus, a group of seniors that don't want to end it. And I think it's going to be I think it may be the best matchup of the day.
Yes.
I really think this could be the best game of the day.
Yep. 3A state finals. What's crazy is we have a number 3 team ranked in all 4 classes.
Yeah.
3A state finals. We got number 3 Dwenger, 32-2, and Brebeuf now 23-11, number 8 at 4:30. I'm still a little shocked. How could Dwenger be 32-2 and be third? I don't get.
We had them as the best 3A team all year long. They're in our top 5 of all classes combined. Neat matchup. Pitt's an insanely defensive-minded Brebeuf team. And you keep in mind, our girl Kat comes straight out of, she had a Munciana background. Her mom is one of the finest trainers in the state, and she played for Gene Kesterson. So she understands big moments. But this team is really unique in the sense that this Brebeuf team is very defensive-minded. Very, very balanced offense, but a very defensive-minded squad against a Dwenger team that's not as balanced, but perhaps has the biggest offensive threat in the event.
Correct.
Hudson may be the top offensive player out of the four matches. Over 500 kills on the year, and wherever she goes, you got to go. In the back row, you got to be aware of her. Front row, you got to be aware of her. everywhere she goes to the bathroom. You probably need to send 3 Brabant kids with her because that's going to be the key to that match. It's going to be offense versus defense, which is always enjoyable to watch.
Yep. And then we'll talk about 4A, number 3 Munster, 33-2, versus the number 1 Yorktown Tigers, 27-0. And that'll be a 7:30 start.
Yeah, I think Yorktown would be the hometown team. It doesn't matter as much this year because there's a limit on fans. Yorktown, I think, would probably be the prohibitive favorite coming in just because of history and the fact that they're undefeated. I know that to be true. I think that Munster is going to have to come in and calm its nerves quickly.
Yeah.
They obviously did that with the Mavs of McCutcheon, but this is a different stage. It's interesting to see a lot of new teams, no repeat teams from last year. So, much like Wapahana, Yorktown is in that same line or the same lineage that they've been to the state championships a lot. And we talk a lot about their 4 chief defenders in the back row. This is a team that's built on the back row versus Munster, who has a very good bro, but they're a power at the net, as you mentioned, the older gentleman referencing. It's really interesting. This Yorktown team has kids that have been in state championships, won state championships. They're still on this roster. This roster also has all 4 of those kids that man the back row. And all 4 of them have been in a Final Four of a national championship in club, playing against the best players in America. So this is a seasoned group versus a group that's really new to the dance or championship stage. That makes for a lot of energy and excitement.
Yep, no doubt. And like you talked about, no returning state champions.
Yes.
Last couple fell out this past weekend.
Yeah.
And the one thing I wrote down, the other thing I was just looking at today on the notes they send on the booklet.
Mm-hmm.
Like you talked about, no state championships title-wise for Lagodi, Pioneer, Dwenger, and Munster. So we got some new guys. That's fun to see to get to that show.
Well, yeah. I think the Lagodi Pioneer match, for that reason, should be the funnest to watch.
Yes.
It's because whoever wins it,
Party.
It's insane. It is insane. I talk about it all the time. It's winning national championships in club, but it's beautiful. But only the people in your club and your team specifically are a part of it. Whoever wins that Lagodi Pioneer match, their entire community, it's sewn into their soul now. Mm-hmm. And it's such a huge event, and the energy and the excitement and the passion, and if coaches and programs that have been around for a while, it's surreal, and I can close my eyes and go back to the first one, and it was one of the great memories of my career. And I've been blessed to win national titles, but that first state title was still one of the greatest memories of my life, and it changed our community.
Yep.
And so I'm excited for the Lagodi Pioneer game. Dwenger, because Hauser has waited so long. I mean, Tim has really been a gentleman about it and waited for a while. That would be a big monkey off his back. And Munster, to bring back the title to the North would be huge, and to win their first would be, well, monstrous.
I like it. All right, the Raymond James. Going some predictions. I know you can't predict. Can you predict the 1 or 2A?
I can. I
cannot.
cannot.
I know you can't do 3A and 4A because every year we talk about this. Mike can't do 3 and 4 because he's on TV
commentating, so I can't. You don't want to show any kind of bias, and so I'll stay out of the 3A, 4A. I'll give you my keys, but we can go with 1A.
Okay, 1A.
Who do you got?
We got all these number 3s. We got number 3 Pioneer, number 3 Wapahana, Dwenger, Munster. I really enjoyed, and I know I was angry when my wife lost.
Angry?
Yeah, I hate when we lose. I don't enjoy it. Like you even said out there a little bit ago, it's not about winning.
Yeah.
You just got the pain of losing to know you didn't finish the deal.
Yeah, everybody has a will to win. Everybody wants to win, but it's the guys that truly get a little bit sick when they lose that are dangerous cats. I get it.
I mean, I'm sitting in the crowd and I'm ticked off. But I loved their energy, and Rod has got a crazy little fire to the cat. He was hooting and hollering. He was strutting and stuff on the sidelines. Rod brings home the state championship, and I say in 4.
Here's what the guy next to me doesn't listen. I said all year long.
I know, but I'm just saying watching him. I enjoy it.
They're great. His greatest strength is his passion. I mean, he's got great passion, and it's endless. And after a long season, and it's been an extremely long season because of COVID, but at the end of a long season, you really want somebody that can keep the fire going. And this guy doesn't need any kerosene. He brings his own. I love Lagodi. I think this is going to be a real war, just because both teams really are and really want it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Pioneer as well, just because of the passion factor. I think when everything comes down to it, just like everything in life, at the end of the day, I'll always side with great passion. Would I be shocked if Lagodi wins? Absolutely not. I love that team, and I love both the teams in this, but I'd probably go Pioneer in a real thin margin.
Yeah.
And it's just one chest bump away with Rod Nyes banging his chest. That's the only thing that made my decision.
There you go. And then the 2A, we got number 3 Wapahani, number 1 Bar Reeve. I went with Bar Reeve last week. Here's what I would say. If Wapahani would have won last year, I would go Bar Reeve. But Wapahani is crazy hungry.
You got to dance with who you came with, buddy. I know where you got to dance with who you came with here.
Wapahani's hungry. I'm from there. Raider Nation brings it home.
I too think Wapahani.
But it could be a 5-gamer. I think it's going to be a great game. But
I think it's going to be the best game of the day. I too go Wapahani, and I go Wapahani because they were there last year, the hunger factor. I go Wapahani. I look at it. Bar Reeve's got a really good setter. The Graber kid is a very, very good setter. I like Bowden and how she's been, distributing the offense. She lost probably her most consistent or go-to outside hitter, and all she's done is kind of rebuild the offense on her own terms, and she's getting more out of Cameron Wise in the middle of the court, more out of Chloe Cook. This Wapahani team shouldn't get freaked out in the bright lights because they were there last year. The Wapahani program, there's kids on that coaching staff at Wapahani. Weir won state championships. Thomas won state championships. Walton won state championships. Paige Williamson won state championships. Every one of the coaches on that bench have won state championships. They haven't won it as Wapahani staff, but as a coaching staff,
Correct.
Other than Yorktown, this staff has won more state championships than any staff in the tournament. I go experience, I go legacy, and I go with my heart. I go Wapahani.
3A, DeWinger, Brebeuf.
I really thought you were going to go Bar Reeve on that one just to tick me off. But I like Bar Reeve, but I love Wap.
I think you are 100% correct. I think it's going to be too much Hudson, and they got a lot of good pieces. Like you don't hear about a lot of them. You hear Hudson because Hudson's just phenomenal, just like Chacoin and everybody else. But they got a pretty good. They got an old backcourt, 3 or 4 kids that battle for the bro all year long. Nice setter that handles the ball, senior. I just think Hudson comes through, and I think it's going to be a good game. I think Brebeuf's going to give them a lot more push than maybe they've handled this postseason. I thought Belmont would have given them more, but they didn't. But I think this is a 4-gamer, and Hudson and the crew win a tight 4.
4-gamer. All right, well, it'll be late in the day. My day will start getting late about that point. So 4-gamer sounds good versus a 5-gamer. I will tell you that, there's so many good defenders in here. We talked about Pioneer Scrap. We talked, one of the things you and I have talked about is Lagodi, defensively, how good they are and how aggressive they are, especially in the bro slot. Bar Reeve, scrappy. Wapahani lives on defense. Brebeuf is the tougher defensive team of these two.
Yes.
Hudson has a star factor. I think you got to have somebody to put the team on the back, and Hudson has that. Barreeve Brebeuf a little more balanced. It'll be interesting. Hudson will have to carry a huge load, and Brebeuf will have to defend with everything it's got. I think it's a classic offense versus defense battle. Your boy Nick Saban just said last week that defense doesn't win championships anymore. He said offense wins championships. That's probably why you're.
Whoa.
Yeah, he said that, and that's probably why you're doing this, because you're such a Bama guy. But I think it's going to be an incredibly good game. I think both of these teams are seasoned. You look at their schedules. Dwinger played as good a 3A schedule as anybody, and the only team that may have played a tougher 3A schedule may have been Brebeuf. And so
because Brebeuf plays everybody.
Yeah, and Brebeuf is hot. Brebeuf has been on a streak. Not that Hudson and the crew aren't. I think it's going to be a wonderful match, and I look forward to calling it, but no prediction out of me because of that.
4A, number 3 Munster. Do I go for the number 3 team that ranked across? I've called them all number 3s.
That's all that.
Versus the number 1 Yorktown, my preseason pick for the state championship.
That's kind of a dig at me because I went HSC.
I just got to say, I've been predicting since they got out of the COVID scare. Oh my, here we are. 7:30, this game. I hope my old man is there. It's not going to be long. We're going to be talking about Bloom, a.k.a. Bill Belichick, bringing it home.
Wow. What a Bloom.
Bye.
That'd be awesome if Bloom had one of the cutoff sweatshirts on, the hoodies.
I say we don't even reach the 9 p.m. Get out the brooms. Sweep Nation. They'll be celebrating down the road at the Mouse. It's going to be Yorktown 28-0. Yorktown number 1 next week when we get to our final show for the top 10. We'll get there. And all I got to say, Yorktown wins. Yorktown wins.
You know, the only thing that I'm thankful for is that little show that you just put on wasn't at the expense of Jason Young and HSE.
If he would have made it, it would have happened.
So it's, well, you heard it there. Here's what I think. Not that it matters after that. I can't even bring up local drinking establishments now. They hit that as well. But Munster, very offensive minded, very net oriented. Munster is going to have to find a way to take Yorktown out of system. They're going to have to force Yorktown out of system either off the serve, receive, or first ball contact attack. If Yorktown is allowed to stay on the net, they will small ball Munster to death, with Stinson running all over the place and Akins and Dunsmore and Judge, doing what she does. And so the key to Munster's game isn't necessarily going to be their net play. They've got to be able to put themselves in a position to be in system so that they can use that size. Meaning, if Yorktown can just pick and choose their shots, Munster's going to be out of system and have to, just go with secondary shots or free balls all night long. If Munster is allowed to use that physicality at the net, it will not be 3 if that occurs. Yorktown, on the other hand, has to serve the lights out, has the lights out serving, has to keep Munster away from them. And they do a good job of that. They're going to have to keep Munster away from them on the serve. They're going to have to serve Munster off and make them play off the net. And when they attack, if they can't terminate, they're going to have to make sure they put Munster in a position to not be able to use their big guns. I think that's going to be critical. So it's going to be a first ball contact game. Munster really would rather play a net game, but this is what they're going to have to do. And Yorktown is going to come out and do what they do. They're going to ball handle like crazy. I obviously can't make a call on it. I think that it's going to be intriguing. I'm really excited to see Munster. I haven't seen them. We talked about them all year. I haven't seen them. Your 9 o'clock prediction, very bold, and it was done in the most Dick Vitale fashion as possible. But my only thing about your 9 o'clock prediction, even with the big breaks in between, we have never gotten out of the arena on time. So 9 o'clock, if that happens, that too will be a huge feat. I know the big fella's excited that he called this early in the year, and he hasn't been digging at me for calling it Yorktown early on. But I think it's going to be a great day of volleyball. Regardless, I'm excited for 1A and 2A as much as any, just because of Wapahani and Bar Reeve. I think it's going to be a really good match. Lagodi and Pioneer is going to be a war to see who gets their first state championship. And for me, I don't work those two games, so I actually get to sit back, watch, and enjoy. So that's my thought.
If you want to, we can do dinner. We'll do it at Savage's. I'll give you 10 minutes to get over there. I'll meet you there at 9:10.
Relentless. But now I know how Jason Young and HSE fans felt all year long. But we'll see.
We're going to talk about a few more players about the weekend. I just wanted to hit on a few. I know we haven't got to talk about these guys, so we'll talk about the players of the week. We're going to talk about I put all kind of setters. I would say
I like that.
The first one, she set some of the season. She's really mainly the right side. I would tell you that is probably the reason why I'm picking Pioneer. She's a stud.
Well, Haley Kripe, 271 kills on the right side of the court is, as a kid that played most of the year on the right side of the court, is amazing for high school.
She'll come inside. She does a lot of good things.
Yeah, and junior setter, all-around player. As you said, the main reason you picked this squad, these 1A squads oftentimes are really anchored by great athletes, and Kripe is one of those juniors, so we get to talk about her again next year. Whether we talk about her as a returning state champion or not, that has a lot to do with Saturday, but Haley Kripe is a big reason they're where they're at.
Yeah, 271 kills, 49 assists, 234 digs, and 28 blocks on the year. Second one, we'll talk about Bar Reeve setter.
Well, I talked about Graber, Hannah Graber earlier.
Yep.
One of the reasons Bar Reeve is where they're at. That showdown is good because Bowden and Graber are both really good setters. And I don't want people to say a 2A setter. They're good setters.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter what A. And Graber, being a senior setter, I tell you, the biggest thing that Wapahani's got to be afraid of.
They're loaded with seniors.
I've always said you need to be loaded. You need to have senior leadership. And your setter is going to be critical at this time of year. It's just like a point guard in postseason. You got to have a good setter. They've got a senior setter, which tends to bode well during state championships. Graber is a gifted little athlete, but as a senior setter, has led Bar Reeve to a storybook year.
Yep. 85 kills, 914 assists, 169 digs, and 14 blocks.
Big.
I'm going to go with the 3A setter. We try to pick one in each class.
Olivia, tell us how to dwing her. She doesn't have as many weapons as some of these guys have, but she has the weapon.
Yeah.
Ava Hudson, just a bomber, and Tellis is smart enough to get her the ball when she needs to get her the ball, and gets her the ball in a good spot. Another senior, and that Fort Wayne area is producing some great club players, which means they're producing great high school players. They go hand in hand. High school makes club better, club makes high school better, and that's what I love about our sport. Tellis is one of those ones that's really grown through the game year-round opportunity playing wise, but she is one of the reasons they're there.
Yes.
Once again, Tim Hauser had been trying to get there for a couple years. Now you got a seasoned setter, a kid who sat back and watched some of these defeats we've talked about and has really grown. You either go through those things or you grow through those things. Olivia has grown. A great little setter, senior, tough to beat.
Yep, 10 kills, 1,108 assists on the year, 282 digs, 5 blocks, and a COVID year. Yep. That's flat out getting after it.
It is.
4A setter. Some people might not know her. She's kind of a soft-spoken kid, and she does the work.
Well, you disappear. You disappear at Yorktown sometimes because everybody wants to talk about the back 20. I said last week they got 6 kids. They got 2 kids on the bench right now that I think all they are allowed to do is cross their legs. And those 2 kids, and Rains and Bell, probably start at 90% of the programs in the country, or in the state at least. Emily Hill has quietly become the most improved player in the state. At the start of the year, everybody was wondering who was going to set this team. And everybody had it picked that for Jenny Morey was going to set it, who is their bro, which is kind of traditionally what Yorktown has done. But Emily Hill's development has allowed Jenny Morey to become the bro, which has allowed Yorktown to flood the floor with ball control. I've said early on that They have a bunch of DSs. That's a team full of bros running around. There are 3 rotations where there are 3 legitimate Division One bros, liberos on the court because of Emily Hill's growth. When you can throw a Powers, a Salee, a Morey, and a Stinson in the back row for 3 rotations, and they got 2 of them for the other 3 rotations, that's because of Hill's growth. Hill has allowed this team to become what they've become. Judge and Dunsmore have been spectacular, but no Hill, and these guys are in a tough spot because of what it would have done to the rotation. Emily Hill, most improved player, she's going to have to play big against Munster and get around some of those big kids for this team to finish up this Cinderella year.
Just in case you're wondering, my Yorktown people, that's all I got to say. Yorktown's known for the defense. It reminds me of Ray Lewis and the Ravens team. Just need Trent Dilfer. Just put up a good ball consistently. Let the defense do the work.
Peyton Manning, Denver Broncos, and a career.
Yep.
No, I agree. And Emily Hill's been that kid. Huge numbers, almost 1,000 assists on the year. She's done a nice job. The other thing is she's a good defender.
Yeah.
People don't realize that she is a solid defender. I watched her this summer a little, and she really surprised me. You become invisible on that team sometimes if you're not a Stinson or a Morey or a Powers. But Emily Hill can hold her own defensively, and she's more than held her own as a setter. So great picks for people, oftentimes overlooked players, but great finish to the regular season.
Yeah. That's all we got for you this week.
Yeah, and like I said, if you don't get a chance to go online and purchase tickets, watch the games. You should celebrate no matter who you are. Whether it's HSE, who had an insanely good season and still may be the best team in the state, who knows? Or if you're Silver Creek, who made this legitimate push to the end, or whether you're Lagodi trying to get your final championship, or if your team was one of those teams that was unfortunate enough to be COVIDed out of this, the Blue Rivers, the Culver Militaries, the Hagerstowns. Regardless of who you were, I think you should tune in and celebrate the year that almost wasn't. The sheer fact that we're going to make it through this thing is remarkable. Yeah. And that's not to say there's more hiccups along the way, but we're within 48 hours of getting where we want to go. And I'm just excited for volleyball. I'm excited to have something to celebrate in our state and our nation and in our game.
Yep.
So we'll see you next week. Hopefully I see some of you on Saturday. You have a beautiful evening, and